I wanted to make a video today to show you some of the different pads that I've experimented with and learned how to make, and show you how to make my favorite pad, which is extremely fast and easy. So before I do that, I wanted to show you kind of the evolution that I went through to figure out kind of the different pads that work. And these are the first pads that I made. The top is flannel, the center is toweling, and the backs are polar fleece. And these are actually really good. They worked really well. I still use them. They're a really good overnight pad because, as you see, they've got a lot more in the front because I sleep on my stomach. And they snap in place right around your underwear like that. But as you can also see, this flannel is about a year old and it looks like it's had a really hard life. I mean, despite kind of the bad stitching and stuff that I had when I was first learning how to do this. So, so this is one of the kind of the drawbacks of the flannel tops, is they don't really last very long. They're nice and soft, although they get stiffer the longer you go. And the towel, I did the toweling because the toweling was very inexpensive. I mean, almost everybody has I just really cut up a towel we had that had some holes in it. So this is, but I made a whole bunch of pads for like 10 bucks. So this was a really good way for me to start kind of my cloth pad journey. And then I went into, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and got some new skills. And then I went into the ones that are shaped more like this. And these are, this one's still toweling, although this one's Zorb. So this one's still toweling with the fleece back. And this top is something called Minky. I think Joann's calls it like soft and cuddly or something like that. And the benefits of this is it doesn't wear out. Like, these pads are like almost the same age. And you can see this one looks almost like the day I made it. And that one looks very worn out. So the benefits of the Minky top is that it's very durable. It washes really well. It doesn't stain. However, it also, my skin's really sensitive, and so sometimes I can wear these and sometimes I can't. It's kind of like, if you're that way with like polyester underwear, you're probably going to be that way with these pads too. Like, some days I just have to wear cotton. So the other thing I didn't like about this type of pad is it clips together like this. And so it goes in your underwear like this, and I found it kind of like moved around a lot on me. I don't know, maybe I just move a lot. So I found that to be not ideal. And this one, while better, and I also didn't like, it just felt like there was too much fussy stuff. The other thing that's really hard about this is these take an incredibly long time to make. It requires really good sewing skills, and if you don't do it right when you wash it, you'll find out, because like one of the edges can pop out and stuff. But if you want to make a really high quality pad, you have a lot of time to do it in. These are good. So this one has something in it called Zorb, which I'll show you in a minute when we put one together. But Zorb is a material that I buy on Amazon, and it holds a lot more than either flannel or terry. Your three core fabrics are flannel, terry, or Zorb. And the nice thing about flannel is that it's easy to get. It's fairly compact. And it's pretty easy to work with. Toweling's harder to work with, just because it's kind of bulky, but it's very inexpensive. The nice thing about, but it's bulky. So the nice thing about Zorb is it's also very, very compact, very flat. I find it easier to work with, but it is a little more expensive and harder to get. So there you go, those are the benefits. So then I started experimenting with some other ways to make pads, and I made these little panty liners, which I loved. And this is a turn and top stitch on the edge. I'm going to show you how to serge them because it's a lot faster. But one of the things, these have just like 4 layers of flannel as their core, and it's just a little thing. You can tell these have one snap on them. They're downstairs, so I can fix their snaps. But one of the things I did, these are both flannel top, and you can see the flannel is also discoloring a bit. And the other thing you can see, pro tip, if you're going to do like the core, don't use teal flannel. You can see the teal kind of leaking through on the little doggies there. So yeah, I don't use teal flannel anymore for the course. So these were really great, and I wanted to kind of see like, how could I make these into pads that could be more for kind of, rather than like light days or spotting days, kind of a more heavy for the rest of your time. So this is the pad that I came up with, and this is the pad I'm going to show you today how to make. And this is a flannel, because I really like flannel. Another option for a top is, these are both woven cotton. Woven cotton is nice in that it's easy to fun. It's also really fun prints. I mean, look at like Harry Potter and Wonder Woman. This is really fun. The drawbacks are is it's not as soft as the flannel, but both flannel and this are really easy to work with. If you're beginning, I would definitely recommend using these fabrics. The Minky, I would say, is a lot harder to work with, and I wouldn't necessarily use this until you've kind of figured out other things, because it's a harder one to use with. Okay, so this, so I love these. These pads tend to stay really well, and they kind of, your underwear kind of flares them out a little bit, I guess, but these stay really well on my underwear, so I really like these. And this is another option. So I'm just starting to work with this, so we'll see how it goes, but my skin seems to be doing better with this than it did with Minky, and this is organic bamboo velour, which I also bought on Amazon. Alright, and then flannel back. So the other, and I'll show you the construction. I always back my pads with flannel because if I use a layer of PUL in it, and PUL is a waterproofing layer. In order to waterproof your pads, your choices are using a polar fleece like this, which makes it water resistant, not waterproof, or something called PUL, which is a water proof layer, and then flannel. I've never actually bled through the polar fleece. It actually works really well. But if you're going to be using these for urinary incontinence, you definitely want to use PUL. PUL is also, it's probably hard to see on camera, but they're a lot bulkier when they have the polar fleece on them. So if you want a really thin pad, then PUL is definitely the way to go. Alright, and this just, if you guys want a video on how to make these, I can do one. But this is like a travel pad because it all comes apart so you can hang it up to dry a lot easier like in a hotel room. And this is just an absorbent core you can add to it. So if you want a video on that, I can do that later. Alright, so I want to show you how to put together one of these pads. And I'm going to be doing a flannel one because I actually really like flannel. Yeah. So we are going to, so I'm going to show you how to do this on a serger, but I just wanted to, there's obviously stuff you need to do on your sewing machine as well. I want to say there's nothing about this pad that you can't do with just a sewing machine. And I'll show you kind of a way to do it with a sewing machine if you'd like. So hold on. Alright. So these are the components of the oval pad. So this is 2 layers of flannel, and I do suggest using the higher quality flannel. If you use flannel like sheets, it's not going to last as long. And I like using a pattern and a dark one just because it resists staining a lot more. This is the core. So this is Zorb, that material. It kind of feels like a felt almost, but they use this in making reusable diapers and things like that. So that's what this is. I bought mine on Amazon. So of this pad that I'm making, I bought everything at Joann's except the Zorb. And if you don't want to invest in Zorb, toweling works just fine. Okay, so this is 2 layers of flannel that I'm putting on there. Zorb can have some compression leaking, so I just like putting some flannel on it. Okay. So then you just have to decide which one's going to be your top. This will be my top. So the nice thing about using 2 sizes, they match, but it can be kind of hard sometimes to tell which is your top, like after the pad's made. So you always want to look for which side has the stitching, because that tells you which side the top is. Alright, so you just want to kind of center it on there. And then we're going to sew it to the top. And just so you know, like if you're doing a lot of these, the reason I wanted kind of a really fast, easy pad is I have a lot of daughters and they've been wanting pads, and I also have a full-time job. So this is, I put one of these pads together like lickety split, like this really doesn't take long at all. And I cut everything out ahead of time. I'll cut all the cores, I'll cut all the tops, and I can cut things like 4 to 8 pieces at a time. So that makes it go a lot faster. Okay. Now, when you're working with Zorb, it's actually a good idea. If you have a running foot, use that. If you don't have a running foot, then I recommend using kind of a large zigzag, because that tends to make it not twist as much. Sorry, just making sure I have the right foot pedal. So I'm just sewing along the edge, kind of on one side. I know there's people out there that sew a lot better than I do, and you know, wow, kudos to them, but I also want to say you can do this kind of pad without having huge sewing skills. This is okay. Now, if you want to do special stitches on stitching this to the top, that's fine. A lot of people do that. I just like the humble zigzag. So now we're going to put it together. Now this is the PUL, and I just buy the plain PUL. Some people use this as a backing, like you could sew these together and this could be your back and that would be totally fine. The problem I have with this is I find it slips around a lot. So that's why I like to back all my pads with flannel. Now if you want to, you can turn and top stitch these. Oh, I never told you, oh, I didn't do that right. I never told you how to make the pattern, I'm sorry. So to make this pattern, all I did was take a piece of paper and I made it 12 inches because I wanted a 12-inch pad, and I just like folded it in half and cut an oval. It was really like kind of that easy. You can make these shorter, they're highly adaptable, whatever length you want. Okay, so you can turn and top stitch these if you like doing turn and top stitch. It takes a lot longer and I find it more frustrating. If you want to do it on a sewing machine, you don't have a serger, what you do is you, first of all, you sew kind of a 1/4 inch from the edge all the way around, then trim the edge so everything's perfectly even, and then do a zigzag on the edge. And the nice thing about a serger is you can do all those at once. So I'm pretty new to serging, so if I'm doing something like radically wrong, feel free to correct me. Okay. The other thing I do with these, which obviously I didn't, is I use these little clips. And the reason you don't want to use pins is because with pins, you can punch holes in the PUL. And then it's not, you know, as waterproof. So these little clips, I got these, I don't know, probably on eBay. But they're also really nice for quilting. So if you do quilting too, these are really nice for like holding the binding. Okay. And now we're using the serger. All right, Petal. There we go. Okay, and when you serge, obviously, you want to have a little bit trimmed off. The biggest thing I found with serging is to just kind of try not to go too fast, especially not around corners. Take this clip off. And there you go. Alright, and there you go. Alright, so there you go. So it's done. This pad, what you do is you just fold it like this. And I'm not going to show you putting snaps on, but I'm going to put 2 little snaps right here. And then that's what it sits on your underwear like this. If you don't have a snap press, you can use Velcro, you can use a button, you can use anything like that. I've even heard some people like have put like little ribbons on to tie it. So there you go. One very easy, very fast, very effective tool. And I wanted to say I actually got into using reusable because I was allergic to the regular things, but I kind of wish I'd known about them longer. They're so much more comfortable than your disposable counterparts. And I also figured out how to make reusable tampons as well. And between those two, like, I am so happy I don't have to use disposable ones anymore. So I hope this was helpful. I'll make a list in the comments about kind of pros and cons of different fabrics. And thank you very much.